There is always a big nation that massively underperforms in the World Cup, from France in 2010 to Spain in 2014, and then of course to Germany in 2018. And I think this year it will be, let's get straight into it, where in Group A we have Netherlands, Senegal, Qatar, Ecuador. I think it's pretty clear that Netherlands are probably going to win the group, especially if Senegal's main star, Sadio Mane, is injured for longer than a couple of games for Senegal. So I think Netherlands will win that, but despite Mane's injury, I think Senegal will come second. And then because Qatar are hosts, and they're actually not that much worse ranked off than Ecuador, I think Qatar will finish third and Ecuador will come last. Of course, in Group B we have England, and despite poor recent performances and results from Gareth Southgate's men, I still think they have enough quality to comfortably finish first. But here, for this group, it's just a case of who's going to finish second. Because I do think USA and Wales are quite similarly ranked, but with Gareth Bale, the world-class player, and still in my opinion, I think he'll have enough star power to get Wales through and get them enough results and ultimately beat USA and finish second in this group. Is this going to be Messi's last World Cup? You'd probably say so. And with Argentina, I think it's going to be a relatively easy group for them, just because Mexico's squad is relatively aging quite badly and Saudi Arabia aren't a very strong team, as we saw in the 2018 World Cup. So I think Argentina will win the group and Poland will finish second. Could France be the nation that completely collapses at the World Cup? Because things have not been good off the pitch. There's arguments, questions about the manager, Didier Deschamps. Pogba's not going to be at the World Cup. Varane might not even be at the World Cup. Denmark, they've got players like Eriksen, who's back in the Denmark team, and other good Danish players who could potentially give France somewhat of a threat. But I do think France will still have enough to win the group, and Denmark will come second. I think Germany's time will come 2 years down the line when they host the Euros, but for now, I think their squad's still quite young, and it's just not going to be quite enough to finish top of the group ahead of Spain. I do genuinely think that Japan could potentially cause problems for Germany and actually maybe finish second. They do have some really good quality players in their team. I mean, for example, Mitoma's playing really well for Brighton at the moment. He looks like a really exciting prospect, but maybe for Japan, it will be in the next World Cup where they get out the group stages. It's great to see Canada at the World Cup, and I really hope that Alphonso Davies isn't injured and can play in all 3 matches, because Canada have actually been performing quite well recently, beating the USA on Canada home soil for the first time in God knows how long, in many decades. Canada are actually growing a really decent team and maybe could cause Croatia and Belgium some problems, certainly some entertaining games, but I still think that last World Cup's finalists, Croatia, are going to come out the group, and Belgium as well, with their world-class players like Lukaku and De Bruyne. So we have Canada massively relying on Alphonso Davies, and then Serbia massively relying on Mitrovic, and Mitrovic himself could be injured for this World Cup, which would be a massive blow for Serbia. I think it's for sure Brazil are going to win the group. They're one of the favourites to win the whole tournament. It's just a case of who's going to finish second. With Switzerland's experience in major tournaments and getting out the group stages will really, really benefit this group. So I think Switzerland are going to finish second and Serbia will finish third. So if we're saying that it's probably Messi's last World Cup, then the same is probably true for Ronaldo. What a career he's had. He's won the Euros with Portugal. Can he do it for Portugal at the World Cup? I certainly think they're going to get out of the group, and then second spot will probably go to Uruguay. So with the way I've done my predictions, I'm having Netherlands play against Wales, and if that's the case, it could easily be Bale's final game as a Wales player, and what a phenomenal career he's had for Wales. A world-class star, getting them to the Euros and the World Cup, and then potentially the knockout stages of the World Cup. I just think Netherlands, with their squad as a whole and their recent form, will be too much for Wales. Argentina-Denmark could potentially be a really good matchup with lots of goals, but I think Argentina, with their world-class attackers, will just edge this one. And then of course my team, England, potentially coming up against Senegal. Now by this point, Mane could be fit and ready for Senegal. I just think England will do just enough to get through against Senegal, but it definitely won't be easy, and I think it will be really, really close. Maybe England's recent experience in major tournaments will make sure that they'll get through this game against Senegal. Similar to England, I mentioned France have issues off the pitch as well. I think they will do enough though to get ahead of Poland, despite Poland's world-class striker in Lewandowski. Now Spain-Croatia is a pretty tasty matchup. Of course, Spain didn't do that well in the 2018 World Cup, getting knocked out by the hosts Russia, while Croatia reached the final. And actually, I think Spain are going to lose this game. I think with Croatia's recent experience in major tournaments, they've still got players like Modric, Brozovic, Perisic, who are still performing really well for them. I think Croatia will do enough to get ahead of Spain, and I think they'll beat Spain, and Spain will be knocked out in this round. Then we have potentially an all-South American clash in Brazil-Uruguay, which, I mean, would be so exciting. But with Brazil's world-class forwards, I think they'll do enough to get ahead of Uruguay. But this game could have loads of goals, but Brazil will do enough to get through. Belgium-Germany is a really close call-up. And like I said earlier in the video, I think Germany are going to be really strong in 2 years' time, where their young squad has matured and they'll be hosts, so they'll be really pumped up by their home fans. But I think in this World Cup, Belgium will overcome Germany and get through. Now with Portugal-Switzerland, it could be quite a difficult matchup for Portugal because Switzerland have experience of reaching the knockout rounds and they beat France the last World Cup. But with Ronaldo's quality, Bernardo Silva and Cancelo as well, Ruben Diaz, I think Portugal will have too much. So then I've got Netherlands playing Argentina. What a ridiculous matchup this could potentially be. I think Messi's Argentina will get ahead, and I think they'll beat the Netherlands in this one. I just think Brazil, with their squad depth, with their attacking talent, will have enough to... I've talked about the issues of both these nations off the pitch, but England-France would still be a really entertaining game. And as much as I would want England to beat France, I think France have way too much attacking quality and England wouldn't be able to deal with it. So I think France would overpower England's defence and get ahead of England and reach the next round. Belgium-Portugal, like I mentioned earlier, almost certainly Ronaldo's final World Cup. Maybe not quite his final tournament as a Portugal player, but definitely his final World Cup. I think Portugal would potentially edge this one, but it is hypothetical and really hard to call. On to the semi-finals and Argentina playing Brazil. What an amazing match that would be. So hard to call. Messi's final World Cup, I think, could end at this stage. Brazil are just such a strong side going forwards. They've still got a really solid defence. You've got goalkeepers like Edison or Alisson to play. It's just ridiculous. I think Brazil will do enough to get ahead of Argentina. It could potentially be a repeat of the Euro 2016 final between France and Portugal. And I do think France would beat a nation like England, but then coming up against a nation like Portugal with world-class stars and amazing attacking talent, I think Portugal would win this one. So the way I've done my predictions, I think it'll be a Brazil-Portugal final, and I'm going to say that Neymar will win the World Cup for Brazil and Ronaldo will lose the World Cup final. Let me know what you guys think about the World Cup in the comments below, and please be sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that.